Good evening. You've reached the dark side of the mountain. Welcome to South Side Paranormal with your host, DJ Nemo, bringing you top tier investigations. We look at things through history, through time. We look at mysterious hauntings, mysterious creatures, and things that go bump in the night. So strap yourselves in, open up your minds, and question everything. Good evening. You have tuned into Southside Paranormal with your host, DJ Nemo. That is me. Welcome to season 3, episode 2. We said this season was going to be epic. We're going to go even further into many different topics suggested by you, our favorite listeners. So thank you so much again for your love and support. If you enjoy our podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. Please pass this podcast on. We're definitely growing. We'll be expanding into different platforms, hopefully soon, Spotify and Apple Podcast as well, so you can catch up on any episodes that you are missing. So this brings us to tonight's topic. We are talking kind of about, it's not really a paranormal effect. It's more like a phenomena, and that is the Mandela effect. So let's talk about some of you are like, I know exactly what the Mandela effect is, DJ Nemo. Awesome, because we're going to go into specific cases of this Mandela effect. So the Mandela effect term really started around 2010, and basically it goes back to Nelson Mandela, former president of South Africa. And it was believed that he had died actually in prison in the 1980s. And we know that he was sent to prison during the apartheid regime of South Africa. And he had done a lot of time. He actually gets free at the end of apartheid in 1990. Once he was freed, he was easily elected president of South African and the ANC, which is the African National Congress there in South Africa. Now, here's the thing. So people believe that, and this is widely known that he had got out, he became president, and he became a very famous leader. And he became one of the, founding movement people in South Africa and South Africa's restoration after decades and decades of apartheid. If you're not familiar with apartheid, basically it was systematic racism toward all people of color in South Africa. Essentially, people believed that he actually passed away in like 2010. And people were like, is Nelson Mandela dead? And no one had heard from him. Okay. And people claimed that he had died in 2010 and they had watched his funeral live on TV. Okay. And the crazy thing is that people remember this. People remember because this is a national figure. This is a president of a country that passed away. And so people believed truly that he was dead in 2010. And people have a distinct memory of watching his funeral. A lot of people were in school at the time. A lot of people were watching heavily news, and they distinctly remember seeing his copy because it was a national televised thing on all the major news channels. But here's the thing. He didn't die in 2010. He died in 2013. Now, how does that happen? That people believe that a famous person, a president, widely known throughout the world, died 3 years before he actually did. How do people have core memories of him dying, watching the funeral because it was broadcast, happening in 2010, but really it happened in 2013? But people are fully convinced that they saw this in 2010. Okay, people have memories of this in 2010. Now, this Mandela effect, we don't know how this happened. How did this happen where a lot of people, it's not like a small group of people, we're talking worldwide, people confirmed that he had died in 2010. But in reality, if you actually use Wikipedia and look it up, he died in 2013. So how are you having core memories of that event? Did something happen in the time-space continuum? That's something to be discussed and talked about as this time goes on. Now, I wish I could say that this phenomena became known as the Mandela effect, okay? Because so many people believed and remembered core memories of 2010 watching Nelson Mandela's funeral in South Africa. But we clearly know history says 2013. Now, that one might be able to be explained, but the problem is that this phenomena has happened in the world and to different things. We're talking movies, books, famous people, board games, and this phenomenon has happened over and over and over again since that time of 2010. So in the past 10 years to 2021, people are observing this Mandela effect phenomena happen constantly throughout multiple forms of pop culture, multiple forms of history. It's like, okay, maybe the Mandela thing could be theoretically wrong. Maybe people just remember it because it was such a tragic event and you lost such an important leader. That one might be explainable, but the ones we're going to talk about tonight may not necessarily be. They're not so easily explained. And as someone that's a little bit older, okay, I've lived through a lot of these either events. I know exactly what they are. Okay, I distinctly remember them as a child growing up. I distinctly remember them as a teenager into high school and into adulthood, that things were a certain way. And then all of a sudden, if you look back on it now in 2021, they're saying it was completely different. But here's the thing. If it was like, oh, it was just you, DJ Nemo, that's the phenomena with this Mandela effect. It's not just me. It's not just me. People worldwide are remembering this phenomena. Let me give you some cases to think about. And this is for you to do your own research. Now, this is all alleged. Okay. So as we go through each one of these topics, I'll explain to you how the Mandela effect is affected on these ones. Okay. And then I want you as a listener and a viewer to go actually look up some of these things, because it'll blow your mind. Because you're like, no, I know for a fact I saw so-and-so, or I know it was spelled like this, or I distinctly remember they did this in the movie. Go double check it. Okay. So let's talk about a very easy one. Let's talk about a child's book character. Curious George. You know Curious George, right? The curious monkey with the man in the yellow hat. They had a show on PBS Kids, right? So now Curious George had been around for a very long time. Now, here's the thing. I remember the Curious George books as a kid. I read all of them in the library. And I remember that he's a monkey. Monkeys by default have a tail. Okay. The only ones that do not have a tail are apes, chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans. Those are from the ape family. But a monkey is a different species of ape. They have a tail. I know when I was younger, I read every single one of those Curious George books, The Man in the Yellow Hat. I distinctly remember him with the tail. But if you look at it now, people, if you get a book right now, if you have a Curious George book right now, or if you've seen the show on PBS Kids, it's still on there. He never had a tail. He never had a tail. And according to the author, because the author's long dead, they're gone. They never had a tail. But I know when I was younger, he had a tail. It's Curious George, the monkey. It's not Curious George, the gorilla. It's not Curious George, the orangutan or the chimpanzee. But he's a monkey with the man in the yellow hat. I distinctly remember him having a tail hanging from the electrical things in the yellow man with the yellow hat's apartment in New York. But apparently, if you look at it now, Google it now, 2021, he doesn't have a tail. Let's keep going. Since we're on the childhood kick, let's go to a very famous one that I am 100% convinced that this somehow changed in the time-space continuum. And that is the Bernstein Bears. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with children's books, but there was a series of books called the Bernstein Bears. Now, the Bernstein Bears had a mama bear, papa bear, brother bear, and sister bear. They're very famous children's books, okay? They have at least 50 to 100 different books of the Bernstein Bear books, okay? They're really easy to read. They're very fun. They're well drawn. They're well written, okay? But here's the thing. I distinctly remember, and when I've asked actually other people in my family, do you remember this? And they all say the exact same thing. So growing up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I distinctly remember Bernstein Bears was spelled Bernstein. Bernstein Bears, as in like Bernstein, as in the German, how you would spell Steen. Okay. There's like, Goldenstein or Levenstein. These are all very famous Jewish names, German names. They all have EIN. But apparently, if you get a copy of the Bernstein Bear books now, there never was an E. It's actually spelled AIN. Bernstein Bears. So it's BERENSTAIN. Bernstein Bears. Which is crazy because I know I read every single one of those Bernstein Bear books. Brother bear, papa bear, mama bear, sister bear. I read every single one of those books, and I know for a fact it was EIN. Now magically it shifted to AIN. How is that even possible? Did something happen in the space-time continuum that caused it to shift? I know that, and I'm not the only one. Some of you listening right now, like, oh, I know it was EIN. Apparently not. If you go on Google right now, if you go on Amazon right now, the Bernstein Bear books are AIN. Look it up. Now, we're going to keep this train going because it's not just that. Let's go to some other childhood favorite ones. Let's talk about the Monopoly Man. Okay, if you don't know, the Monopoly Man, he has a real name. It's Uncle Pennybags. And when I was a kid, now Monopoly's been around for a long time. Monopoly's been around since the 1930s or 40s. It's a very old game. Okay. And people like playing Monopoly. There's so many different versions of Monopoly. Okay. And I remember him having a monocle. That's where it's like when the really rich people from the 1940s who were big business people that had like tycoons, they had like instead of having glasses, they had like one eye. It's called a monocle. It's basically like a glasses for your one eye. And I remember him having a monocle. I'm pretty sure I've seen him with a monocle because you can, and he's on all the character cards. When you play the game of Monopoly, there's chance and treasure chest cards. When you read the chance and treasure chest cards, he's on all of them. And I'm pretty sure he had a monocle. But if you get your Monopoly board out right now, if you don't believe me, apparently he never had a monocle, that he had 20/20 vision, which is very unlikely because if you actually look at character sketches of people from the 1930s and 40s, a lot of those rich people wore monocles, or they wore the glasses where it was hanging off the nose. Okay, because to have glasses, oh well, it's a bad look on you. So people didn't want to look that they needed glasses back then, so they would use the monocle, or they would use like reading glasses and take them off. That was faux pas, as they say. Like, it was a fashion don't back in that time. But if you pull out a game of Monopoly now, he doesn't have a monocle. He doesn't. How did this happen? I know for a fact I have a Monopoly board, probably from at least the 1950s or 60s when my parents were around. And honestly, I know he had a monocle. But if you pull out a Monopoly now, I pulled one out not too long ago, and he doesn't. Let's keep ruining your childhood. Let's go with the Looney Tunes. We all know the Looney Tunes, right? Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky, Tweety Bird, Sylvester, right? The Looney Tunes. How do you spell the Looney Tunes? I already know right now as a listener, you're spelling it out. The Looney Tunes, right? That's all folks, right? You're spelling it loony, Looney, and you're spelling tunes like cartoons, okay? But you spell it like Toons, right? Looney Tunes, like cartoons. Apparently not. Apparently it's Looney Tunes, Tunes. This one really blows my mind because I watched tons of Bugs Bunny as a kid. I watched tons of all that, of all the old school characters. And I know it was Toons. And not only was it Toons, there was a spin-off series called Tiny Toons, and it was spelled Toons. I know for a fact it was spelled like cartoon. Why it's a cartoon? Wouldn't that make sense? It's a loony cartoon, and we'll shorten it down to Looney Tunes, not Tunes like a music tune, but apparently that's what it is. If you look up any pictures of Bugs Bunny currently, you look up any pictures of Tweety Bird, Porky, any of these people, Pepe Le Pew, apparently it's Looney Tunes, UNES. Now, I wish I could say it was limited to kids' toys and cartoons, but it's also, this phenomenon has happened in movies and music. Let me give you a couple examples. Star Wars. Where are my Star Wars fans at? Okay. Star Wars. We all know about Star Wars, right? Return of the Jedi, one of the greatest Star Wars movies of all time, right? And everyone remembers specifically Star Wars. Remember, we have Darth Vader finally gets revealed to Luke Skywalker. And he says, what does he say? Luke, I am your father. Historic, right? Historic line. And Luke's like, no. And he's hanging off into this giant pit. And he gets his arm cut off. Okay. Everyone remembers that scene. If you ask people when they say do an impression of Darth Vader, Luke, I am your father. Right? Right? That's the Darth Vader saying. That's what he says. People, if you ask someone to say a saying from Darth Vader, so like if you're a hardcore Star Wars nerd, I am as well. You might be able to say like, I find your lack of faith disturbing, like the deal has been altered. Pray I do not alter it further. Like you know the Darth Vader lines. But if you don't know anything about Star Wars, if I said, tell me what does Darth Vader say? Everyone's going to say, Luke, I am your father. But put in Return of the Jedi. Put it in right now. Watch it right now, streaming on Disney Plus. He doesn't say that. Allegedly, he says, no, I am your father. He doesn't even say Luke at all. He says, you're not my father. He says, no, I am your father. He doesn't even say Luke. He doesn't say Luke Skywalker. He doesn't say Skywalker. He says, no, I am your father. Then why, as a culture and society, how come everyone has that memorized where he said, Luke, I am your father? How does everyone remember that? Even people that are not even fans of Star Wars. And I said, hey, what does Darth Vader always say? Luke, I am your father. They don't say, no, I am your father. No one ever says that. And this is what leads me to believe that this phenomena is deeper than just some coincidence. How do so many people get this wrong, especially on Star Wars, which is like, people love Star Wars. How could you forget a line like that? Luke, I am your father. Everyone knows that. Now you're telling me Vader says, no, I am your father? Google it. Go watch it right now. Some of you are like mind blown. Go on Disney Plus right now and watch that scene where he cuts the hand out. He's hanging on there. He says, no, I am your father. How did this happen? How does so many people in the world get that wrong? I don't know. Let's keep going on movies. Let's mess with Snow White. We all know the story of Snow White, right? We see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, right? And you remember like the evil queen, right? And she gets the apple to Snow White, and Snow White bites the apple and she falls asleep, right? And the Prince Charming has to give her the kiss to wake her up, right? Now, what if you remember when the evil queen sees Snow White, because the evil queen wants to look beautiful, right? She's talking to the magical mirror on the wall. And what does the witch say to the mirror? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Right? Isn't that the classic Snow White line? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And the mirror says Snow White, and that's why she gets jealous, and that's why she poisons the apple. Go watch Snow White again. Now, what's crazy about Snow White came out in the 1930s. It's old. It's one of the oldest Disney movies out there. Okay. How does everyone know it's mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? But if you actually watch it again, the queen actually says, magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? Your mind is blown right now, because I know for a fact you might not know Star Wars, but I know you know Snow White, and you know that's what that queen says. Apparently not. Apparently, if you watch it on Disney Plus right now, she says, magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? I don't remember it that. How is mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all, so ingrained in us? Okay. I want to finish with two couple quick crazy ones. We'll talk about, let's talk about some candy. Okay. Oh, actually, you know what? Even before, we'll do the candy one first, and then we'll finish. We'll talk about the clothing one, and then the painting one. What about candy? Right? You like Kit Kat? I love Kit Kat. Right? You know break the Kit Kat bar. Right? Think about Kit Kat. Right? Well, if you look at the picture of the Kit Kat, there's a dash in the Kit Kat. Right? It's Kit-Kat. I know that happened when I was a kid. That was my favorite. Kit Kat and Whoppers was my favorite candy. But if you pull a Kit Kat bar now, there is no hyphen. It's just Kit Kat all together, one word. How does that happen? It's not because they just changed the wrapper to red and white. It doesn't make sense. I know when I was a kid, Kit Kat, Reese's Pieces, Whoppers were my favorite candy. I know it had a dash. I ate hundreds, possibly even thousands of it as a child. I know the Kit Kat logo. It was in an orange wrapper with metal foil with the chocolate, and it said Kit-Kat. Apparently it's not. Apparently in 2021, it was all one word with the K. You want to keep on going? Let's keep on going down this rabbit hole. Let's talk about Skechers. Skechers been around since 92, right? Everyone knows what Skechers, right? The shoes, right? How do you spell Skechers as the shoe? You're going to say, well, that's easy. It's Sketcher, Skechers. If you have a pair of Skechers, go look on the website right now. Pull up your phone right now and look up a pair of Skechers on Amazon right now. There's no T in it. It's spelled Skecchers. How does that happen? I know if I say, whoa, Skechers, there's a T in it. Even on kind of the same situation that happened like this, look at Febreze. I remember Febreze came out in the late 90s, right? If you look at Febreze, I know it was spelled Febreeze, for like a breeze, like a breeze, an ocean breeze. No, it's not. Pull up. If you got Febreze under your sink right now, pull it up. It's Febreze. There's only one E in that. How does this happen? How does so many people in society get something major? Like Kit Kat's a major thing. Skechers is a major thing. Febreze is a major thing. How do so many people get that wrong? Did some time and space continuum happen that everything shifted? I don't know. And I'm gonna leave you with one word. I'm gonna give you to why my theory, why I think this is happening in the world. Who all loves the rock band Queen? Right? The Queen, right? Where we are the champions, no time for losers. Because, right? That song, right? I'm not gonna sing for you. I'm not Freddie Mercury. Right? But if you pay attention to the song, I know it said, we are champions of the world. But if you look up the lyrics on AZ Lyrics, he never says of the world. It's not even in the song. But I know it was in the song because they played it in the Olympics. They played it in the Olympics when it came out. I know it was of the world. How many times I've seen someone win a national championship or a Super Bowl or an NBA title when they sing, we are the champions, and then everyone goes, of the world. How do so many people say of the world? But if you actually look at the lyrics of Queen and Freddie Mercury, there is no of the world part. There is no of the world part at the end of the song. How did that happen? How are all these phenomena happening with culture, with movies, with music, with candy? How is this happening? How is this Mandela effect happening worldwide? I'll give you a couple theories, what I think. I think we have crossed over somehow in this dimension on an alternative timeline. Are you familiar with how timelines work? So we are consistent on a timeline. Now, if you study the theory of relativity, you study Einstein, you see some of these astrophysicists, okay? And I not to say that DJ Nemo is some astrophysicist, I'm not, but I do read a lot. And I could tell you for a fact that how the timeline goes, the timeline is linear. It goes on a line, but certain events happen that shift the timeline down. Now, we don't know what causes the timeline to shift down or shift up. And now we are on a different tangent timeline. Like things never happened or things never existed. Is it possible that we were on one timeline through the 70s, 80s, and 90s? Because all the stuff that I've just told you all happened in that time. And then sometime around 2010, everything shifted. And now we are on an alternative timeline where all the stuff that's happening in the world, I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but all the crazy stuff that's happening in the world in America is all happening. We are like on like a dystopian timeline in the world. All this negative stuff's happening, natural disasters, contentious elections, wars, all sorts of horrible things going on in the world. Theory of black holes. If you look at how black holes work, there's like a parallel world and then another world. So in this world, you might be this person, but there's an exact copy of you on the opposite side of a black wormhole. That is you, but maybe you're good in this world, but you're evil in the other world, or you're evil in this world, but you're like amazing in the other world. It's a replica. And this is why the people talk about time travel, that you can't go back and upset things in time because it creates something called a paradox. Did some kind of paradox happen? That did people travel back in time? That's a whole nother episode we can get down on time travel. But have people created back in time as a paradox and shifted the timeline? I don't know. I really don't know the answer to this question. I do know, and I do want to suspect highly that something has happened in the world in around 2010. I don't know what that was. I don't know if that was an event. I don't know if something happened that wasn't supposed to happen. And now we are on this dystopic timeline that we are on in the world. And if you think about it, everything that I've said tonight, you can go back and double check it yourself. Go onto YouTube, go onto Amazon, look it up. If you want more information on Mandela effect that I can't get into on this podcast, go do your own research, because things don't add up. It doesn't add up. We talked about, you want to even go down a deeper rabbit hole, we could talk about the particle accelerator that some university did they open up a wormhole? Did they shift the timeline down by accident? Maybe not on purpose. Maybe they were exploring how particles happen. I don't know. I really don't know. All of this is theory, because I am not an astrophysicist. I wish Albert Einstein was alive, because I feel like even him, Stephen Hawking, some of these great scientists. How are we on this dystopian timeline? What happened? Did an event happen? Was something happen? Was consciousness erased? Was it like a Men in Black kind of thing where they flash your eyes and then, I forget everything? Maybe it was that, because I think I have a pretty good memory as a person. I distinctly remember everything that we've talked about tonight: Skechers, Kit Kat, Queen, Monopoly, Curious George. And this is Snow White, Darth Vader, Looney Tunes. We talked Bernstein Bears. We talked about all of that, all of them. And guess what? This is just the tip of the iceberg. Go look up Mandela effect on your own. There are at least 40 more other instances of this phenomena happening, and some that you might understand. You'd be like, no, I know it was this way. I know it. That was not that long ago. I remember it was this way. It'll blow your mind. And with that being said, I hope you've learned lots. Thank you so much again for following our podcast. And we always like to say, if you like it, please like, share, and subscribe. Pass that on. Hope you tune in for next week's episode as we get into episode 3 of season 3. And we always remember to have you. It's crazy out there. Remember, we will see you on the dark side of the mountain.